I found the papers by accident. It happened on a quiet Tuesday morning, the kind of morning that felt too normal for something so life-changing to be waiting in the shadows. The house was still, the kind of stillness that makes every sound louder, the hum of the fridge, the soft tapping of rain against the kitchen window, the clicking of my own nervous fingers on the table. Daniel had left early for work. He always did. But today, he had rushed out faster than usual, barely kissing my cheek, barely looking at me. I told myself it was just stress. I told myself not to read into it, but then I saw his laptop. Open, unattended, the screen glowing like a confession someone forgot to hide. I didn't mean to look. I truly didn't. At first, I only wanted to close it for him. I even reached out with that gentle, careful movement a wife uses when she respects her partner's space. But my eyes landed on the bold black letters in the middle of the page. Residential Move-In Agreement. My breath froze. Below the title were two names. Client, Margaret Hale, his mother. Destination address, our home. Scheduled date, next week. I stared at it so long I forgot to blink. My heartbeat became a drum in my ears, slow and heavy, like my body was warning me about something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. Slowly, like peeling off a bandage, I scrolled down the page. There were signatures, notes, delivery instructions. There was nothing accidental about it, nothing temporary, nothing discussed with me. He had planned everything. He had planned to move his mother, the woman who disliked me from the very beginning, into my house, into my life, into my space. Without a word, a soft pressure built in my chest, the kind that feels like grief but tastes like anger. Maybe I should have cried. Maybe I should have screamed. But instead, I just sat there, staring at the screen while my tea went cold. My hands shook slightly, but inside I felt quiet. Too quiet, like something inside me had just shut off. The rest of the day moved around me like thick fog. I cleaned the kitchen without seeing anything. I folded laundry without remembering doing it. I sat on the couch with the lights off, thinking about all the times I tried to make peace with his mother, all the times Daniel promised it wouldn't be like it used to be. 7 years of trying, 7 years of being patient, 7 years of telling myself he loved me enough to protect us. And now this. By the time the sun set, everything inside me felt hollow. The rain had gotten heavier. It drummed against the windows, steady and cold. Thunder rolled in the distance like a warning I couldn't translate. When I finally heard the front door open, the house felt different. Daniel stepped inside, shaking water from his jacket. His hair stuck to his forehead, droplets sliding down his neck. He smelled like rain and something faintly metallic, maybe the tools he used at work, maybe guilt. He didn't know anything yet. "Long day?" he asked as he hung his jacket on the hook. His voice was casual, easy, soft. I studied him for a moment. Really studied him. The little crease by his eye, the tired slump of his shoulders, the worn-out shoes he refused to replace. The man I loved, the man I forgave more than I should have. I nodded. Very long. He didn't even feel the tension in the air. Of course he didn't. He never noticed the storms I swallowed for him. He walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water. Every step he took felt louder than usual. Every movement felt like it pushed something inside me farther and farther away. We had been married for 7 years, but it felt like the past, especially his mother, was a third person in our home. An uninvited ghost who had never really left us. His mother never liked me, never accepted me. And Daniel, he tried at first, but the truth was always the same. He chose her, every time. He sat down across from me, tired but relaxed. Rainwater dripped from his hair onto the wooden floor. Our floor, the floor he planned to give to her. "What did you do today?" he asked, sipping his water. I wanted to ask him the same question. I wanted to see his face when he realized I knew. I wanted to watch him try to lie, but instead I smiled gently, a smile that hid everything. "Not much," I said. "Just thinking." He nodded, completely unaware, and leaned back in his chair. I watched the rise and fall of his chest, the calm way he breathed, the peace he felt in my presence. Peace he didn't deserve. He had no idea what he had taken from me today, or what this had awakened in me. Later that night, he kissed my cheek again, warm and soft. My skin felt cold under his lips. He showered, changed into his worn-out gray t-shirt, climbed into bed, and fell asleep within minutes. He didn't notice I never joined him. I sat on the couch with the lights off and stared at nothing. I thought about the years we spent together, the promises he made, the things he said when he wanted to fix us. "You're my home," he once told me. It felt like a lie now, because someone who sees you as home doesn't secretly try to give your life to someone who never loved you. I curled my knees to my chest and let the quiet wrap around me. It wasn't sadness that sat with me. It wasn't heartbreak. It was something colder, sharper, clearer, something that whispered, if this is his plan, then I need a plan of my own. And for the first time in a long, long while, I listened. The morning after I found the moving contract, the house felt different. Or maybe it was me. I woke before Daniel, something I rarely did, and stood in the kitchen with my hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee. The sky outside was a soft, pale gray, the kind of sky that warned you something was coming, even if you didn't know what. I listened to the quiet of the house, the steady tick of the clock, the soft creaks in the hallway, the faint hum of the heater. Everything felt normal, but I didn't feel normal anymore. When I heard Daniel's footsteps coming down the stairs, I forced my breathing to slow. He walked into the kitchen wearing that same worn-out gray t-shirt, rubbing sleep from his eyes. His hair was messy, sticking up on one side. He looked innocent, harmless. Funny how appearances lie. "Morning," he said, yawning. I turned toward him and smiled, soft and gentle, the smile I used when I needed to hide. "Good morning." He kissed my forehead like nothing in the world was wrong, like he hadn't planned an entire move behind my back, like he hadn't made a choice for our marriage without me. He opened the fridge. "Do we still have eggs?" I nodded. "I'll cook." "You don't need to," he said, closing the fridge. "I want to," I replied. He didn't notice how even my voice felt calmer than usual, how steady I suddenly was. He didn't know I wasn't cooking for him. I was studying him, watching him, listening to every word he didn't say. While the pan heated, he leaned against the counter and drank water. "How's your week looking?" I asked. He shifted his weight, eyes flicking away for a second too long before answering. "Busy," he said. "A lot to finish." I cracked an egg into the pan. The sizzle filled the room. "Finish for what?" "Just some work stuff," he said quickly. Lie. Too quick, too smooth. My chest tightened, but my voice stayed soft. "Oh," I said. "Anything you want help with?" No, he said, waving it off. "It's boring. I don't want you worrying about it." A strange memory flashed through my mind. 7 years ago, before we married, when he used that exact tone. Quiet, gentle, avoiding. The tone he used when his mother pressured him to break up with me. Back then, I believed him. Back then, I trusted the softness in his voice. Now, I knew better. I placed the plate of eggs in front of him. He smiled, thanked me, sat down, and ate like a man who didn't know his world was shifting beneath his feet. Later, while he got ready for work, I walked into the garage to throw away some recycling. That's when I noticed something that made the air leave my lungs. Boxes, 3 of them, opened, half-filled. Inside were sweaters he never wore anymore, old shoes, books, spare tools. At first, I thought maybe he was cleaning out old things, something normal, something harmless. But then I recognized the handwriting on the side of one box. My stomach dropped. He had already started packing things for her, already planning where she would stay, already preparing the house for her arrival, like I wasn't even part of the decision. I stepped back, letting the cold garage air bite at my skin. My throat tightened, not with tears. I had none left to give. When I walked back inside, I found him by the front door, tying his shoes. He looked up and smiled the same warm smile he always used before leaving for work. "I'll be late tonight," he said lightly. "Why?" I asked. He hesitated, just a flicker, before answering. "Just meetings." Another lie. Then he kissed my cheek and walked out the door. The moment it clicked shut behind him, something inside me hardened again. The day stretched on painfully slow. I kept replaying everything: his tone, his lies, the boxes, the contract. Every piece fit together too perfectly. He wasn't confused. He wasn't unsure. He wasn't struggling to decide. He had already decided. He had chosen her comfort over my place in his life. It wasn't just about her moving in, it was about him hiding it like he knew it would hurt me, but didn't care enough to stop. Every hour revealed more memories I had tried to forget. 7 years ago, standing outside his mother's house while she whispered poisonous words into his ear, calling me weak, calling me difficult, calling me not wife material. I remembered Daniel pulling me aside afterward, apologizing. "I'll never let her come between us again," he had promised. But promises meant nothing when convenience or guilt pulled him back into old habits. That evening, when he finally came home, I was waiting for him in the kitchen, the same place where I found the contract. He walked in, tired and damp from the rain again. "Hey," he said softly. "You're late." "Sorry, busy day." I watched the small movements in his face, the tiny flicker in his eyes that always appeared when he hid something. "You seem stressed?" I said. He shrugged. "Just a lot on my mind." "Anything you want to talk about?" He shook his head. "Nothing important." That hurt more than he knew, because what he meant was, "Nothing important enough to share with you." I nodded slowly. "Okay." He sat at the table. I joined him. The silence between us was thick, like a blanket someone had forgotten to wash for years. I could feel him drifting away. Or maybe I was the one drifting. I didn't speak for a long time. I just looked at him. Really looked. The man I married. The man I forgave. The man who didn't think twice about betraying me in the quietest way possible. He reached for my hand across the table. I let him. His thumb brushed against my skin, warm and familiar. But it felt wrong now. It felt like a touch built on lies. "What's on your mind?" he asked gently. "Just us," I said. He smiled a little. "We're fine." Funny how easily he believed that. Funny how easily he thought love was something you could take for granted. I pulled my hand back slowly. He didn't notice the way my chest tightened again, not with sadness, but with clarity. He really didn't know. He didn't know that while he was hiding his plan, I was hiding mine. He didn't know that I had already checked the guest room closet and found something even worse: a box of his mother's clothes already packed, waiting to be moved in. He didn't know that while he lied with small, careless words, I was learning the power of quiet truth. Something was ending, but something new was forming in that silence. Something sharp and cold, something steady. A plan. A plan I didn't need to rush. A plan I didn't need to announce. He thought I was clueless. He thought I was soft. But he had no idea what I had become the moment I saw that contract. The night before his mother's secret move-in, the house felt too quiet, too clean, too prepared. I moved through the rooms slowly, touching the furniture, the walls, the things I had chosen over the years. This house wasn't perfect, but it was mine. My safe place, my effort, my life. And he had tried to hand it to someone who spent 7 years reminding me I wasn't enough. The sky outside had shifted to a deep, heavy blue, the kind of blue that comes before a storm. I could smell rain again, the same way I smelled it the night I found the contract. I set the dinner table carefully, one plate in front of him, one plate in front of me, fresh candles, soft music. It looked like a romantic dinner. It looked like peace. But it wasn't. It was goodbye. When Daniel walked through the door, he froze. Not in fear, but in surprise. "What's all this?" he asked, dropping his keys onto the counter. "Dinner," I said quietly. "Sit." He blinked, confused, but he sat. I took my place across from him, folding my hands in my lap. My heart wasn't racing. My palms weren't sweating. I didn't feel scared. I felt ready. The candles flickered between us. Their golden light made everything look softer than it really was. Daniel smiled, the slow, gentle smile he always used when he thought I was being sweet. "You didn't have to do all this," he said. I tilted my head slightly. "Actually, I did." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I reached beneath the table and slid the printed document toward him. The moving contract. The one with his mother's name plastered across it. The one he had planned to hide until it was too late for me to fight back. The paper stopped just in front of his plate. His breath caught. His shoulders stiffened. Where did you get this?" he whispered. "From your laptop," I said. "You left it open." His face drained of color. The silence between us felt heavy, thick, waiting. "I can explain." "I know." I cut in softly. "You were planning to move your mother in behind my back." He swallowed, hard. "Listen. She needs help. She's not doing well. She can't live on her own anymore." "And you didn't think to tell me?" He looked away, guilt flickering across his face like a shadow. "I didn't want you to worry," he said quietly. A laugh slipped from my lips. Small, disbelieving, sharp. "Worry?" I repeated. "You didn't want me to worry about a woman who spent years tearing me apart? A woman who told you to leave me? A woman you always chose over me?" "No," he said quickly. "It's not like that." "It is exactly like that," I whispered. The room fell silent again. The music in the background suddenly felt too gentle for what was happening. I reached into the folder beside me and pulled out the second document, the one he had never seen. I slid it across the table, too. He stared at the bold letters at the top. "Property deed owner. Me. Only me." He blinked, then blinked again. "I don't understand," he said, voice cracking a little. "This house is mine," I said softly. "Legally. Fully. You knew that, or at least you did when you signed the prenup." But we used my salary too," he said, voice rising. "We built this place together. We lived here together," I corrected. "I built it with my inheritance. My name is the only name on the mortgage, and on the deed." His mouth opened, then closed. Like he couldn't find the right argument, like his mind was scrambling for words that didn't exist. I stood and walked toward the hallway. When I returned, I placed his packed suitcase beside his chair, the same things he had been slowly packing for his mother, except now they belonged to him. He stared at it in disbelief. "You planned this," he whispered. I shook my head. "No," I said. "You planned it. I only finished what you started." He swallowed again, eyes glassy, jaw tight. "You're kicking me out," he said. "Yes," I said softly, "because you already chose a different home. You just didn't have the courage to say it out loud." He looked away, fighting the truth, fighting the guilt, fighting the fact that he had been caught doing something he thought he'd get away with. "She needs me," he whispered. "And I needed you," I replied. "But you didn't see that. You only saw her." He rubbed his hands over his face, trembling. "Where am I supposed to go?" I tilted my head gently. "Isn't that already decided? Didn't you prepare for it? You packed a room for her. You packed boxes for her. You planned everything so carefully." He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I had finally become someone who protected herself. He reached across the table again, slower this time, trying to grab my hand. "Please," he whispered. "Let's talk about this." "We are," I said, "but you don't get to talk your way out of a choice you already made." His eyes lifted, desperate. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Intent doesn't erase damage," I said. "And you've been choosing her over me for 7 years. This was just the final proof." He sagged in his chair. The candles flickered again, reflecting in his eyes like tiny fires. He looked defeated, small, lost, but I didn't feel sorry for him. Not anymore. I stepped closer and whispered the final truth. the one he needed to hear, even if it broke him. "Tell your mother she was right," I said softly. "She finally got you back." His breath hitched, his eyes widened, and for the first time, he understood the cost of choosing her comfort over our marriage. He stood slowly, grabbed the suitcase with a shaking hand, and walked toward the door. He paused with his hand on the handle, waiting, maybe hoping I'd stop him. Call him back. Forgive him one more time. I said nothing, not a single word. He closed the door behind him. Quietly, almost gently. The silence that followed was deep and clean and new. I stood there in the middle of the house that was now completely mine, letting the sound of nothing fill the room. No more lies, no more secrets. No more standing in the shadow of a woman who hated me. Just me. Just peace. And the soft, final thought that whispered through the empty space. Sometimes revenge is simply giving someone exactly what they wanted.